folks, last night was the Season 2 premiere of The X Factor on Fox and the introduction of new judges Demi Lovato and, of course, Britney Spears. I thought it was a pretty entertaining show, but they really should have made finding a new host their first priority instead of their last, because the show had to host itself last night, and it was a little bit chaotic. We've already had enough chaotic from Britney Spears. The job of the host is to help the show flow nicely. I prefer the process where you have the host interviewing the contestant auditioning, and then move on to the next one. We kind of were doing a lot of jumping around last night, and so it was a little bit confusing. Plus, there weren't many interviews as much as there was cameras sneaking up on people, which I love, except maybe they should have had the sound people clean up the audio so we could hear it instead of having to read it. I mean, bring a book! The main reason I watch TV is because I don't like to read. If I have to start reading my TV shows, I'm not going to be very happy. So yeah, they really need to hurry up and find a new host. I don't care if it's Steve Jones or Khloe Kardashian or Pee Wee Herman. The show doesn't work as well without one. I was also a little bit disappointed at what seemed like a lack of talent last night, but let's face it, the show last night was not about showing talent. It was about introducing Britney Spears as the new judge, and they did a pretty good job at that. Everywhere I'm reading online, people think that Britney is the tough judge now, and they think she's a great judge, and I'm hoping that she will be good. But I went to 2 of the X Factor audition tapings here in Greensboro, and Britney really wasn't that good. Now, Demi Lovato was delightful, which I was a little bit surprised about because I was one of those skeptical people that thought that she was too young to be a judge. But she turns out to be a little tougher than Simon, and Britney really just mimics what the other judges say. That's what I saw anyway. What we saw on the show last night was very different. But it's a little bit funny that they visited 3 cities within this one show. Now, the judges see about 100 people per city, and usually we have one city, then the next city, the next city. They showed us 3 cities last night, so it kind of felt like they were showing us the best of Britney, and maybe that's the best we're going to see of her. One thing I know, though, is that homegirl needs to quit doing her own makeup. Get you a makeup artist, honey. Doing your own makeup is fine if you're going to Walmart, but when you're going to be on TV in front of millions of people in HD, you kind of need a makeup artist, because she was looking a little bit rough when they did the close-ups. Maybe they should stop doing close-ups. But everywhere I look online, people seem to think that Britney is a really good judge. And first impressions mean a lot, so it was really smart to put the best of Britney together. You notice how when they showed the montage of her being mean? I think it's more of what I saw of her, or the other judges being really mean, and then Britney being not as mean in comparison, and mimicking what they said. So we'll just have to wait and see how she does. But off to a good start anyway. Anyway, let's move on to the auditions. First up, we go to Austin, Texas, with 21-year-old Paige Thomas, who claims to be a huge Britney fan, but then I don't really expect anybody to come on there and say that they don't like Britney. Paige had her adorable daughter backstage for inspiration. Smart move, bringing on the child, because a lot of people just melt when they see children, except, of course, at Walmart. Or at the grocery store. Paige hasn't really pursued a singing career because she's going to nursing school to provide a more stable income, which is noble, but don't most parents do that? Make sacrifices for their children? So they can paint it as an inspirational story, but let's not act like she's saint by day, singer by night. She sang I'm Going Down by Mary J. Blige. It was okay, but her vibrato was just way too much. She sounded like she was singing through a fan. Have you ever talked through a fan and heard the way it goes, oh? That's kind of what she sounded like, so that kind of ruined it for me. The judges loved her, though. Demi called her a superstar. Simon said it was one of his favorite auditions ever. Britney said she was flawless, and L.A. compared her to Rihanna, which is what a lot of people at home were probably thinking, too. She does look a lot like her, but you never really want to be compared to anyone else. Even if it is flattering, if she can't shake those comparisons and that vibrato, I don't think she'll last very long, but she got 4 yeses. Next up was 50-year-old airline baggage handler and total creepy old man Shawn Armenta. He said that he has practiced for a year and a half every day after work for 6 hours from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., which is only about 4 hours for most of us, but I don't question the unstable people. All the practice did not pay off. He sang an original song called Candy Girl, which might have been okay if he was like 14, but at 50, he'll be lucky if it didn't land him on some kind of pervert watch list. Simon said that he was like a mouse trying to be an elephant. Britney was uncomfortable with him even looking at her, and Demi told him that fame is not meant for everyone. He snapped back by criticizing her for using autotune, but maybe he could have used a little bit of that himself. Next up is 13-year-old Demming. Everybody tells him that he looks just like Justin Bieber, but don't all little boys that wear their hair like that get compared to Justin Bieber? He said that he doesn't want to fall into that Bieber stereotype, and he's just got to be himself. Then go get a freaking haircut and quit trying to look like him. I mean, really, I think it's pretty obvious that he loved the attention that comes with being compared to Justin Bieber. And I can't say I blame him. When I was 13, I would have probably tried to model myself after the current heartthrob of the day if I hadn't been such a porker. He said that he wants it so bad that he would crawl on broken glass for it. Unfortunately, when he sang It Will Rain, it kind of sounded like that's what he was doing. You could tell there was a good voice in there somewhere, though. Simon stopped him and asked him to do another song. He probably shouldn't have done another Bruno Mars song, but he did anyway. He sang Grenade, and it was pretty good. Simon wanted better vocals, but he gave him a yes anyway. Demi thinks he's adorable, so it was a yes for her. L.A. compared him to Bieber, so it was obviously a yes for him, and a yes from Britney too. If he gets a haircut and is able to shake the Bieber comparison, he might be lucky enough to land in one of those manufactured groups. Next was 22-year-old she-devil Kaci Newton, who we had seen clips of throughout the show backstage with her snobby friend talking trash about all the other contestants. It was like something from the mall. These girls were so full of themselves. Kaci thought she was the prettiest person there, and she wasn't ugly, but her attitude damn sure was. Simon compared her look to Britney, and Britney wasn't too happy about that, and I can't say I blame her. I don't think they looked anything alike, mainly because Britney Spears has a chin, and Kaci didn't really seem to have much of one. Kaci said that she was like Adele and Carrie Underwood rolled into one, and you know when they say something like that, they're gonna suck, and she really did suck. She sang Katy Perry's Firework. Simon said it sounded like she was dying, and I think that was being a little bit kind. Then she tried to force mercy on the judges, and she had me begging for mercy, so it was 4 no's for her. Now her and her snotty friend can go to the mall and point at people or something like that. Whatever it is snobs do to pass the time. Next up we go to San Francisco. 21-year-old cake decorator and cross-dresser Quatrele Smith said that the judges can now stop their search because he has arrived. He sang Born This Way, and it sounded pretty much what you would expect it to sound like from a man auditioning in a wedding dress. But the judges loved it. I guess they were pretty hard up for entertainment that day. It was mildly amusing, but as far as the joke auditions go, I've seen much better. Demi Lovato loved him and his lipstick color. Britney thought he was a little off-key, and Simon thought he was like the love child of Madonna, Bobby Brown, and Dracula, but they all three said yes. L.A.Reid was the only one that did not embrace the madness. Next was 21-year-old Vincent Thomas, who says that he was in a boy band in Europe, and they were the next Backstreet Boys, and they got to perform in front of 60,000 people. But obviously they weren't the next Backstreet Boys, since Vincent is currently a nobody, and I've never heard of him. And the fact that he didn't even name this boy band kinda raises a red flag on my bullshit meter. He also raised a red flag on my gaydar. He was backstage trying to give out boy band advice. It seemed to me like he was flirting with them boys backstage. Anyway, he sang Sorry Seems to Be the Hardest Word, and he lost points with Simon right out of the gate because he didn't seem to know that the song was by Elton John. And for a brief moment, I thought he might have some potential. Even though he wasn't very good, there seemed to be a decent voice somewhere in there. But when he went into the falsetto, it was over. It sounded like somebody stepped on the cat's tail. Poor thing. Simon said he was like the non-singing fifth member of a boy band. But he's very pretty, though. Vincent, if you need somebody to console you, I'm here. Next up was the only group that we saw last night, a boy band that proclaims that they aren't a boy band. It's Emblem 3 with Wes, Drew, and Keaton. Well, they proclaim that they aren't a boy band since they play their own instruments, but so did Hanson and the Jonas Brothers. When you were boys and you were in a band, you are a boy band. It's not really that complicated, is it? Anywho, they performed an original song called Sunset Boulevard, and I heard some really good potential there, but it seemed a bit noisy and unpolished to me. The backing track seemed to be louder than them, so I liked it, but I didn't love it. The judges loved it, though. They got 4 big yeses, and Simon predicts very big things for them. Next up is 32-year-old Don Phillip. He said that he did a duet with Britney 10 years ago, and she said they did a duet 10 years ago, but their duet was I Will Still Love You from her first album, which would make it more like 14 years ago, so they've obviously both lost 4 years somewhere. Now, we already know where Britney lost hers, and now it's pretty obvious that Don's went to the same place, but unlike Britney, he has not come back from it yet. This was the creepiest, most uncomfortable, most entertaining audition of the night. Like, I was seriously creeped out by this guy, and I'm not easily that creeped out, but I think he was on drugs or something. I don't know if he was on drugs or if he's just naturally crazy in the head, but it was so creepy. He was crying and saying, I never thought I'd see you again. He acted like they were best friends, and from what I gather, they were signed to the same label. The label thought it would be a good idea for them to do a duet, so they went in the studio and threw down some vocals, and that was it. I doubt they spent more than a few days together, so it was really kind of creepy. Now, they did edit this audition. Apparently, he revealed that he was gay on stage and said that he didn't tell Britney back in the day because he didn't think she was very accepting. So I get why they edited that out, because Britney shouldn't have to defend herself. I mean, seriously, leaving that part in kind of makes her look like a homophobe. And it wouldn't have made any difference. It wouldn't have made him seem any less creepy. So he sang Halo, and Simon's right. He just doesn't have a good singing voice. And when he's singing, it's like his face disappears and he becomes all mouth. You know those little drawing faces, like with the crazy faces that you see sometimes on Facebook, like the fail faces? He looked like one of those. He seemed shocked to get 4 no's, and then he had a meltdown backstage where he kept saying, "I never meant to hurt Britney. I never meant to hurt Britney." Dude is unstable, and it's not just the editing. I went to his Facebook page, and it's like the manifesto of a stark raving lunatic. So I hope Britney's security team is keeping a close eye on him. I thought it was very disturbing. Next, we move on to Providence, where we meet 18-year-old Janelle Garcia. She said that she's doing this for her family because she wants to make them proud, which actually means that she's doing it for herself, but nobody ever seems to want to say something like that. I thought this girl was cute as a button. She kind of reminded me of a young Catherine McPhee, although I hope they hook her up with a good stylist because her outfit made her look a little bit clunky. But she's still very pretty. Pat Benatar is her inspiration. I'm not sure what song it was that she was singing, but it was easily the best of the night. Of course, that doesn't mean a whole lot on a night where there wasn't very much overwhelming talent, but she was still good. The judges loved her. L.A.Reid called her a feisty little fireball. Britney thought she was incredible. Demi thought she was on fire. And Simon thinks that a young Pat Benatar is missing from the charts right now. It was 4 yeses for her. And the last of the night was 19-year-old Jillian Jensen. Jillian, Casey Anthony called. She wants her face back. Oh my God, this girl looked just like Top Mom. This, the last story of the night, is the one that was meant to tug at our heartstrings. Jillian was bullied in school, and now she has to overcome it, and so everybody was very emotional. She was crying while she was singing, and Demi was crying, and Simon was even tearing up a little bit. It was really a good performance, even though I don't know if I loved her voice. I thought the whole thing was a little bit overdramatic, though, with Demi crying and going on stage to hug her and everybody sobbing, and it was a little bit too much for me. The asshole in me has to wonder if it was as authentic as it looked. That's not to say that she wasn't bullied and that they didn't get emotional, but a quick Google tells me that she's told this bullying story many times over the years, and she's been performing since she was 2. She made it to Hollywood on American Idol. She sang backup for Nicole Scherzinger. She's won countless contests for beauty, singing, and acting. And I don't know, I'm a little bit skeptical to think that somebody that spent most of their life on stage couldn't hold it together for one performance, but I gotta give it to her. She can deliver a song with good emotion, so whether it's authentic or not really won't matter in the long run. So anyway, that was it for the night. I thought it was a good show. Now I'm reading that The Voice, for the hour that it was on, beat X Factor in the ratings for the first hour anyway, which is a little bit surprising because I don't see as much interest for The Voice online as I do for X Factor. But I gotta say, premiere against premiere, I think The Voice had the stronger premiere. This premiere was entertaining, it was good, but there was a lack of talent and it was a little chaotic. So we'll have to see how it goes. I hope they show Greensboro auditions tonight, because I was there. So look for me in the audience. I'll probably be the one sitting there unimpressed. Anyway, that's it for today. Leave a comment and let me know who you loved, what you thought about Britney and Demi. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Come be my Facebook friend, join me on Twitter, and join me back here tomorrow where we'll do it all over again.